Let's get into Monkey Man. I got to talk about it. I got to get this off my chest.
All right.
I got to do it. I'm probably going to be alone on my hill, but we'll see. Jude.
Yes.
You have the synopsis.
I do.
Take it away.
2024 Monkey Man, rated R with a runtime of 2 hours, 1 minute. I didn't do the financials. So
Good.
Just going to go right into it. There's a legend of the Monkey Man who tried to eat the sun and the gods got mad and took his power away. Don't worry about that. This one guy wears a monkey mask while he fights. It doesn't really matter. He gets a job at Queenie's Club waiting to come in contact with the man who killed his mother. You won't find out about that till the last 20 minutes of the movie. All you need to know is that murder monks will save him and through drugs and bongos train him to become the one-man warrior India needs. So he bleaches his monkey mask. It doesn't mean anything. And then he goes back into the ring while his sort of friend, whose life he ruined, watches. Don't worry about that either. And then he has one last fight to prove he's ready to take on all the bad guys that are gathered at Queenie's Club waiting to get murdered the fuck up.
Huh.
Discuss.
That's fair. That's a fair synopsis.
It is. That is.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that happens really has no consequence whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
Honestly, this movie could have been about 45 minutes.
It really- yeah. Well, you know, this is one of the things that I was talking about last night is like this movie is it's if you're a fan of Kill Bill and Quentin Tarantino, it's basically O-Ren Ishii. Yeah. And they did that in an animated style in about 20 minutes and it was fucking amazing. And this movie is just a pale comparison to that in my opinion. But anyway, I'm going to go maybe not last, but I'm going to wait. I want to hear everybody else's thoughts on this first. We're going to start with our guest of honor, Criticus Blaine. Go for it.
Yeah, I can. So I dropped my review in Criticus after seeing it and was really hype on it when I got out of the theater. Now after seeing it a second time, I've cooled on Monkey Man some. I haven't changed my review yet. I wanted to wait until we had this chat. But I definitely see the holes more now than I did the first time. I was just in like the right headspace. And honestly, Dev Patel, I really fucking like him.
I have no complaints about him specifically. He was great.
And being that he wrote, directed, starred in this, I was excited to see it. The story kind of behind this movie and everything that happened with it, because this wasn't, from what I gather, was not supposed to be a theater release, got picked up. This is produced by Jordan Peele. And so he picked it up later, then they distributed it, which after seeing it makes sense why Jordan Peele picked this up.
Yeah, I can see that now.
Know anything about him. And so with that being the case, I was kind of excited for Dev. I was like, oh shit, you know, he made this, he kind of bootstrapped it and probably didn't think it was ever going to come to this point to hit theaters and it's getting good buzz. And so I think I was just really hyped on it. But now after seeing it a second time, I'm like, it has some problems. This movie has some problems. It's not perfect. I still put it in the rad territory just because it is his first film. Like, this is really him stepping out on a ledge. I think he took some risks here. He made some mistakes. It does feel very raw. It feels very first time, but I kind of love it for that in its own way. And
what an amazing accomplishment for your first movie.
Seriously. Yeah. And I think if he can fix the problems that are in this movie, one of which being some of the shaky cam that is enough to make you just projectile vomit.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's like too much.
Right.
Yeah. And so, oh, God.
I was just going to say, with the excellent fights, I'm like, you're kind of neutering these fight scenes because it's so shaky, and you're like going to show me a super close up of like a drop of blood, and then we're going to pull back out, and it's just like, it's a little too much. And if he can pull back on some of that artistic, like indie movie flair a little bit, I think he could be fucking a really good action director.
I couldn't tell if I was watching a Bollywood movie or
there's a mix of that, which is not a bad thing, because we all, I mean, I think across the board, we all really liked RRR.
I still haven't seen it.
You haven't seen that movie? Dude, if you want to watch a good action Indian movie, legitimately like the best Indian movie I've ever seen. Go ahead, V.
No, I just think he did a great job at setting up how dirty and grimy.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of gross.
It's very ground
urban.
Urban India
urban
could be.
India.
Right.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, there's a very stark difference between like the street level people in India, and then when he gets into the upper tier, like the richer, kind of like not grimier, but in a different way. When he moves into that atmosphere of like people hanging out with, it changes the vibe. But these are like scumbags who like, you know, kill people for money and stuff. So it changes a little bit.
I mean, everything that we here in the States ever hear about India is what we got in this movie. It's like everybody's super poor. They all live in shacks or little apartments with 40 other people
in the forest,
sleeping on top of each other.
Yeah.
You know, grandma and grandpa banging in the corners. Nobody's supposed to look. You know, weird, just stuff like that. You know, and it's like now in my mind, there's a secret fight club every other block. You know, where they fight and
Yeah.
That was another thing I liked about it too, is that focus on India. He's like, I want you to see India the way that.
Yeah, there's no white people in this. Well, no, there's one.
It's
the guy from District 9.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Charlito Copley.
Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah. He chews up every scene.
Dude, you're exactly right.
He's fun.
Every scene he's in, he's what makes it good.
But what I feel like we got a little ripped off.
Right.
Because the only time I wanted to actually or needed to hear what was being said was when he was in the ring doing his microphone.
His voiceover stuff.
And he has such a thick accent
that
it was really hard to understand. And I'd blame that 100% on the theater.
Yeah, but there were times where it was some of the Indian actors, their accents were so thick, I couldn't tell what they
he's
were saying.
right.
But the thing was with this movie, and I had no problem following this. I mean, that's a lie. I don't know what the hell was going on in this movie most of the time. But it wasn't because I had a lack of understanding them due to the sound issues. This movie could have been silent.
Right.
It almost could have been,
And there could have been no dialogue at all, and they would have been able to
tell a story.
Tell the same
And it has some badass music in it.
It did.
Yeah, the soundtrack was amazing.
A really good soundtrack.
Yeah. I was like this the whole time. I loved it.
Yeah, I was saying, where's our dance number?
Right.
I want to see a dance.
Yeah, RRR got a banger dance number in that movie.
And that reminds me of Slumdog Millionaire, which is where he got his start. And actually, I felt some similarities between this and that. It almost felt like an homage to his first.
There was so many influences in this movie. As I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, that's Styles from Jason Bourne. Okay, I see where he's going with that. That's very Jason Bourne-ish. And then I was like, oh, that's Quentin Tarantino-esque. That's Kill Bill. There's a lot of John Wick in it.
Yeah.
But it switches gears so often. I don't feel like it has a consistent style throughout the entire movie. It's like it's a hodgepodge, especially for the action scenes. Like early on, you get a lot of shaky cam, and then it switches over to more of like Hong Kong stylistic action, like Kill Bill style, and then at the very end, it goes to John Wick. So it switches styles throughout the movie, which I was like, I mean, I get it, but
I was like, can you just pick a lane?
Yeah,
well,
it was kind of like that.
Flick, stuff that's in there through the whole thing, where it's just like
the
these
trippy,
like
that took me out of it. There's a lot of things in this movie that took me out of the movie that I was taken out of the theater. I'm like,
the pacing's the problem.
Pacing's a big problem,
and that was one of the first things that you mentioned is the pacing.
Blaine was sitting in the middle of us last night, and about I don't know how long it was into the movie. I leaned over to him and I go, because he had seen it already before, and I go, how much longer is this movie?
yeah, 2 hours is a bit long for this.
I gotta go pee, and I thought it was like an hour and a half in already, and it was like
it dragged
like an hour.
It's how he broke this up in between those bits. It just like drags it down some, and the first time, for whatever reason, it didn't bother me a lot. But when we ran our review on Critical Cast Unhinged, it was the same thing where my guys were like, no, it slowed down way too much. I was like, you're full of shit. The second time, I'm like, oh, they're fucking right.
Oh yeah, they're right.
Yeah, that's why I really try not to write reviews.
Right.
I got to marinate for at least 24, 48 hours.
Give some
time. I feel like it's too soon to even talk about it.
I have mine drafted, but I never hit review or send or whatever. And I'm going to go back and redo a couple things.
I'm going to put my synopsis in my review.
You should, because honestly, that was a great synopsis. And it also calls out a lot of the issues that I had with the movie. But Jude, I want to get your thoughts. You seem to really enjoy it. So tell us about it.
I had a great time. As soon as we left the theater, Kadish was like, well, what did you think? And I said, that was a wild ride. Like, is this a good movie? Kinda. It doesn't matter, because all that matters is the lead up to the end fight. This is what the whole movie has been gearing us up for. And I fucking love that last fight. I love the murder monks. I love the fucking bongos and the training montage. You know I love a training montage. Yeah, I had a great fucking time. Anything that happened from the temple on, great movie. Everything that happened before that, I was like, wait, is he... I didn't know what I was getting into. I got to the theater. I watched the whole thing about like the young boy, and he was the monkey man, and he reached up to get the mango, and it wasn't a mango, it was the sun. And then it flashes to Dev Patel, and I was like, oh,
he's the monkey.
Is this a superhero movie?
Yeah.
Is he the monkey and he lost his powers? Doesn't fucking matter.
No.
Doesn't matter.
I was really hoping that somebody was going to kill his alley dog, and then he was going to go lose his shit.
That was my main problem.
That would have been
go John Wick.
My main problem was that he didn't go back and get his fucking dog after that dog did everything he asked it to.
The dog was just a
gun mule.
Yeah.
He didn't care about that dog. He just needed that dog to do a job. Trained it up good.
I'm just be honest with you. I don't remember a dog in this movie.
You were asleep.
I did fall asleep.
I'm not joking.
I did.
And I didn't want to be a douche because I wasn't entirely sure that he was asleep, but I heard that kind of like, and I was like, I think he's fucking asleep. And then I gave the...
Yeah, no, it was the beginning. It was the first act of the movie. It was probably within the first 30 minutes or something like that. I kind of got bored and I kind of conked out for a minute, but then I woke up.
Did the hot dog put you to sleep?
No, I
was dreaming about wieners.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem, was when it would get to talking, we couldn't hear in our theater. And so you're just like...
It was a little slow after, because there's a big action set piece at the beginning where he's in the ring and he's fighting. And it's kind of introducing his character. But then it kind of slows down a little bit for the second half of the first act. And I kind of I'm getting bored. And then it kind of spiced up a little bit for the second act. And then by that point, I was just annoyed with all the other bullshit that's happening.
They got to hook you in, man.
I get it. I don't have a problem with that. Yep. I was really disappointed.
And honestly, the theaters at Galaxy are so comfortable.
They're so comfy. Oh my God, they're so comfy.
It's too comfortable, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't a good sign when you fall asleep. Sure. Yeah, you're right, Wendy. Katers, let's get your thoughts on this movie. I'm really curious to hear yours because
everybody sit back.
You're pretty critical of movies these days, and I want to hear your thoughts.
These days.
Well, yeah, movies suck nowadays.
So I went into this movie really wanting to like it. I loved the trailer. I feel like the trailer kind of pulled a bait and switch with me. This is basically a Batman movie. If you watched The Dark Knight.
Oh, okay,
or Batman Begins, I should say. So basically, Dev Patel, his family's murdered. He witnesses the murder, and he devotes his entire life to revenge. And so basically, he's poor. He's not like a billionaire like Bruce Wayne, but he lives on the streets, and he learns to fight by going into these these underground boxing arenas or whatever. And his job is to basically just get beat the fuck up. And so this sleazy fight promoter can kind of control the betting, right? With his favorite champions. And they're all the fighters in this ring are kind of based around different animals. You have the king cobra snake, and you have the giant mongoose or something like that. So his whole thing is the Beast Man. He wears a monkey mask when he does this. And he just gets the shit beat out of him in every fight because he's the heel. People hate the Beast Man. But he uses it to train himself to be tougher and fight. And all the money he makes from the fighting, he uses to help either get street hoodlums to help him out with intel, or buying weapons or whatever, so that he can infiltrate this organization where he knows that the person who killed his family is heavily involved in. So the first third of this movie is all about him infiltrating this hotel, and he's very calculated, and it's all leading up to this confrontation with the guy who killed his mom. And I was really into it. I thought it was really cool. And then the middle of this movie becomes a trans rights preachy second act. It's all about these transgender monks who live in a transgender temple. They literally make transgenderism a religion by saying that there's the Hindu god is both male.
Oh, both male and female. Yeah, they have a statue. One half's male, one half's female.
Thing.
Right. Probably.
But they kind of set it up in the first act where they talk about how these transgender temples are under attack, and I'm just transgender temple. And then the entire middle of the movie, it's about these trans female monks who nurse him back to health, help him train to become a better fighter, help him let go of his rage, and at the same time they're being victims. And so once he gets strong enough, he goes back. In the third act, he goes back into the fighting pit, makes enough money that he gives all of it to these monks so that they can save their temple or whatever. And then they show up randomly in the third act as murder monks, where they're
murder ninja monks.
Yeah, they're flat out wearing dresses. Every one of them looks like a dude.
They are all dudes in dresses.
They did show the one boxing during the montage.
Yeah, but they're obviously dudes.
Oh, yeah.
Just wearing makeup and dresses, running around murdering like all these like highly trained
I said
bodyguards.
it's ma'am.
It was almost comical. It was almost comical how they looked. But then the third act is like the big showdown where basically like he infiltrates this big hotel, has a big fight with like all these people, and then it ends on kind of like a Christopher Nolan type, like, did he live? Did he die? What's happening? What happens next? Blah, blah, blah. And overall, like, yeah, the pacing was terrible. There were so many plot holes in this movie. Like, it drove me crazy. At a certain point, I didn't care because like the middle of this movie is so long and it's all about like the trans monks. And I was like, I feel like this movie just took a hard detour.
It derailed real hard.
Yeah, it derailed extremely hard. And so like overall, like I wouldn't say that it's a terrible movie. Like I gave it like 2 stars in my rating simply because I'm like, well, like the action scenes are really cool. I like Dev Patel. But as a movie, it's just a mess. And you can tell it's like a first-time director because like he just has no idea like how to keep the narrative going. It's kind of indulgent with like some of the artsy-fartsy stuff. I think that's Jordan Peele's influence or whatever. But like I wouldn't recommend people see this in the theater.
Same.
If you want to watch it, wait for streaming.
Yeah.
But overall, I felt like this was a movie that had a lot of potential that it squandered, and I wouldn't recommend it to people.
I could not have said it better myself. I am perfectly aligned with you. I was watching the trailer and
I hate it when that happens.
I know it's a weird thing when me and Kadish are aligned perfectly. It's very strange. It doesn't happen very often. But yeah, I mimic everything he has a problem with. I had the same problem. Like I was like really into it. The trailer is badass, and I was so disappointed with the final product after being in the theater. I was just like, this is not what I was sold on in the trailers. The trans stuff took me right out of the movie because
your commentary when that started happening was
oh yeah, you were sitting next to me and I was just going, oh, for fuck's
sake. Son of a bitch. No, the fuck they did. Oh, son of a bitch.
Are you for real? Right?
I was so mad. I was so disappointed in this movie. But yeah, the several things that I really liked, like the Monkey Man mask and the vibe that he had when he put that mask on, the persona that it was like the Batman persona, right? He puts on the mask and I'm like, oh, shit's about to go down. And it had like the white outline because
I wanted him to wear the new version of the mask for longer.
For the whole,
he just like put it on, walked over, and then
took it off. And I'm like, what was all that for? What was the point? Why was there even a Monkey Man? Like, it doesn't. Did you top me off with scotch? Oh, you were asking for trouble, brother.
It made no sense.
It really frustrated me with that. I think there was a moment where I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like they freaking hoodwinked me. Like, because he does this like suit up. He's got this badass John Wick suit and he's got the Monkey Man mask on that looks intimidating as shit. Yeah. And I'm like, and he's about to go into this freaking bar and just wreck house. And I'm like, yes. And then immediately, right before the fighting starts, he goes, and throws it down. And I'm like, oh, well, fuck you.
It's like I took that as he went to the fight with his old mask on,
right?
Kicked everybody's ass, got the monks their money, which was cool.
And then he puts the new mask on.
Then he takes the mask, bleaches it out, and I'm like, oh, he just leveled up.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
like level up, ding, ding, ding.
Also,
and then he's gonna go kick everybody in the hotel's ass with his new
but he doesn't.
Persona.
He kicks 2 people's butts. Doesn't before he's even in the hotel.
But that ring fight was really cool.
The ring fight was really cool. Yeah. This movie has moments of like, this is amazing, and then it just hard downturns.
Yeah.
So he's been fighting this one character like the King Cobra or something.
Yeah.
And he always gets his ass kicked.
But it's a rigged fight though. So like the whole time, my impression of it is like the whole time he's been fighting this King Cobra dude.
Yeah, he was taking the dive.
He could have beaten him if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And he finally got to the point.
No, that's not how I took it.
That's not how you took it?
No, I don't think those fights were rigged at all.
Oh no, they totally were.
Yeah, they're totally rigged.
He was taking a dive. He got paid to do it. Because he was like, this is
half what you owe me for taking that dive.
Double, and he's like, we need to make more.
And remember when he was like,
okay, so but they're really fighting.
Yes,
the fights are real.
The fights are real,
and he's still losing the fight.
But he's told to throw it.
Yeah,
and he's not that good of a fighter, which is why he has to go
and train with the trans monks.
Yeah, right.
With the bongo drums. The bongo drums are cool.
Well, he was actually an okay-ish fighter in the first fight scene. My thought is actually why he was doing this was to prepare himself for basically getting the shit kicked out of him and be able to get back up and keep going.
Fair enough.
And so he's been constantly training himself to get the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, there's a Rocky Balboa moment there.
But in this final ring fight, he goes in and he's like, they're like hyping up the crowd and they're like, King Cobra, and everybody's like, Cobra, 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 and Cobra comes at him and he just like fucking knocks him out. 1 second, and the whole place is silent. And the ring MC is like, wow. and Monkey Man's just like, give me some more.
Yeah.
And they start sending out other fighters, and he's just like, done.
Yeah.
So now Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of weird subplots in this movie. Like there's this one quote unquote sidekick guy who's like the big drug dealer at the hotel.
Yeah.
That he kind of like manipulates to get him into like the penthouse area where all the VIPs are. And they kind of strike up this friendship throughout the movie.
I had the biggest problem with this, anything in the movie.
And yeah, so like basically like something goes wrong and Monkey Man has to escape. And as he's escaping, the sidekick guy is like, Monkey Man, stop. And he stops his little scooter and he's like, hop in. And the guy hops in with him. And then the entire time they're escaping from all the bad guys, this little sidekick is like, what are you doing? Like, pull over. Like, we're going to get killed. And then like he runs away and then he goes and sees him at the fight in the third act. And then he just disappears.
Yeah.
It was like you could have removed that character from like the entire middle and last half of this movie.
Yeah.
And
he
you
could
wouldn't
have just watched Monkey Man steal his car and done nothing.
Right.
He would have been fucking fine.
He wouldn't have been in trouble.
Yeah. But because he hops in the car with Monkey Man, they think they're in it together. And now his life is fucking ruined.
Yeah.
But also, he's kind of a dirtbag.
He was a real sleazebag, yeah.
Why was he even trying to be like, yeah, get in, I'll save you?
It was a redemption. It was like a stunted redemption arc.
A redemption arc for nobody.
For nobody who's of important.
Well, you know what it felt like? It felt like they had a lot more with his character and his character story.
Oh, no,
it was already 2 hours.
Nobody wants a director's cut of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Dev Patel does, but I don't.
Yeah, it basically felt like a lot of stuff was cut out of this movie.
I am the everyman.
I actually, as far as a director's cut, what I would like is a director's restructuring. I think the like grand reveal and how they saved it and put it way in like the middle / end of the movie, it wasn't that surprising. When we first saw, kind of his hands and they were showing the fire and whatever, we're like, okay, this bad guy fucked up his life and ruined everything for him and killed his family. Like, and that's what happened, right? Like you telegraph it to us in the beginning, and then you're like, "Here's the big reveal." It's exactly what you thought.
I feel like I've seen that movie.
Yeah,
before.
Right.
Yeah, in Kill Bill, they front load that with O-Ren Ishii, right? They tell you exactly what happened, and then it's all about how she got her revenge, and that it was like super satisfying little 15, 20-minute segment in Kill Bill. It's the same. It's a revenge story, which I'm all cool with.
Yeah.
But it was like chopped in a weird way, and it just didn't tell the story in a satisfying way.
But also, anyone who's seen the trailer, like they know that reveal.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So like the entire time I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, we know what happened. Right? We know exactly what happened.
I mean, the first time we watched this trailer months ago, we were like, oh, it's Indian Wick.
It's Indian John Wick, and I'm fine with that.
But it's not, because the Wick part's only.
Like it's like there's 3 like main Wick fights throughout the entire movie. There's one for each act, and the rest of it's all just trans rights and subplots that don't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'll say the trans stuff, and it seems like Jude and I are on the same page with it. Like for me, at least, even the second time, it doesn't bother me terribly bad. It was a lot, and it was a bit heavier handed than it needed to be, but it didn't feel like how American cinema has been handling trans stuff. Which is why I was like, you know what? Like, this gets a pass from me just because I don't feel like I'm being bludgeoned over the head with being like, you must accept this. This is the message. This is how you need to toe the line. Like,
but you know what was weird about like the whole trans thing? And so like basically there are these monks who live in this temple, and they're all and Dev Patel has come out in interviews and said like, this is a movie about underdogs, and these trans people are shunned by society. They're the underdogs, and a lot of them are about like, healing their trauma and letting go of their hate and accepting who they are and stuff like that. But then like the minute they get the money to buy their own temple, they become like assassin killers who can like just like show up out of thin air and like murder everyone.
They were like super stealthy.
They were already like that. That was what the note was for. Remember who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
He knew that they were.
Because the one was boxing, the really beefy one was like boxing against the
really beefy dude in a dress.
That one was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole thing like about, so like it went directly counter to the message. It wasn't like they were being directly threatened because Monkey Man gave them the money they needed to basically like, get out from underneath the thumb of like the people who were trying to take their temple. And they were the ones who helped him let go of his like, like hatred and rage and stuff like that.
He needed their help.
Well, he needed their help, but I mean, like they were very peaceful people, and at no point did they kind of like foreshadow their turn to like ninjas. Like
embrace your darkness.
But it's not just ninjas. It's ninjas with bedazzled bell dresses.
They were killing people with their dress twirls.
Yeah. A lot of close up of dress twirls.
There was too much. I didn't notice that the first time, and the second time I was like, "Oh, this isn't as cool."
That's a dude's ass.
I was into it.
Like,
I'll say it's that metal song that kicks in, and you're like, "Fuck yeah!"
I didn't forget what was really happening. I was like, "Nah, I'm hard pass."
I have a way different feeling watching a John Wick movie than I did watching the last act of this movie. It's like oh, this. It's like it's okay, I guess.
Peter had a shame boner.
No.
There were no boners in this movie.
I was like, God damn, I'm getting hungry. That's what I like.
Well, we were munching on a wiener.
Like, Alex got any more wieners over there?
Right. He's got them in his pocket.
Really want some
Is that a wiener in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? All the freaking monks in this movie had wieners in their pockets. It was weird.
That whole scene would have been better if he had had the monkey mask on, though.
100%.
It would have been so much
100%.
better.
I don't understand why they threw that out.
I don't either.
It was like,
made no sense.
He decided that maybe the mask was too itchy and he didn't want to wear it while they were filming the last part of this movie.
It was a lot of setup where like basically like he's walking through the streets. He's walking through the city with the mask.
The name of the movie
is Monkey Man. He didn't wear the monkey mask when he had the big battle. And I'm like, what is happening? It's like Batman showing up with his cowl.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was like.
Like I feel like he should have had the mask on up until he got to the penthouse where maybe like it got knocked off.
Yeah. Maybe when it got to the final boss battle and it's it's like the dude who killed his mother. Speaking of that, I do want to praise this movie for one very specific thing. Throughout the movie, he's shown to have these scars on his hands, but they never really tell you how it happened. Yeah. And I don't know if maybe it was said before and I just didn't pick it up or whatever. But it was always like this mystery of like what happened to his hands. And it was like, oh, that's an interesting tidbit of information. I can't wait to figure it out. It was so brutal. And I don't know if I want to spoil it or not, but like
don't spoil it.
It is very brutal, heavily tied to his mother's death in a real, like, just horrible way. And I was like,
the minute he showed his hands, I was like, oh, I know exactly what happened.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
No, you're smarter than I am.
You are so smart.
I didn't pick it up until they showed it, and I was like, whoa. And it added a little element to the revenge story that I really liked. But there were so many other things that brought this movie down for me, and I just didn't have a good time. I could have, but it kept slapping me back out of the movie every time. Every time I was getting into it, it would be like trans rights, dropped plot line, bullshit. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
I feel like you saw way more trans shit in this movie than I did. I didn't feel like
I felt like it was a good 50% of the movie.
No.
You don't think so?
It's not that much.
I'm with Alex. The entire middle of this movie is all about trans.
But they don't really talk about it a bunch. Like you just know they're trans.
I just can't unsee the like 65-year-old man in a dress talking to him
with
like
the deep voice.
It was hyping him all up,
but
and I'm like, ugh.
I mean, that was my whole thing where it's like they don't actually even talk about being trans. And there are other people in the commune that are not trans.
Yeah, the bongo player guy was normal.
I feel like society is hyper-focused
I agree.
On these fucking weirdos right now. And I just, in any little thing that we see in any kind of media.
It's a raw nerve.
It hits a raw nerve and we're going to kind of blow it out of proportion a little bit. Is it there? Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's 100% there. But,
well,
I didn't feel like I was beat up over the head with it at all, but I didn't even notice it until they got to the monastery, which is at least halfway through the movie.
I think that the biggest issue with this movie is basically how it's structured. Like there's this really cool scene where like he goes into this brothel where he's trying to escape the police, and like the main pimp is there, and the pimp for some reason has a murder boner for this guy, and he starts trying to kill him, and there's like this big fight where like Monkey Man has like handcuffs on, and he's fighting this guy who's like wielding an axe and stuff like that, and it almost felt like for the character like he should have been going out trying to like perfect his skills by fighting guys like this early on, because it's like oh, like I know this girl, and like she's being forced into prostitution at this place, and I have to go like kill the pimp to free her and stuff like
oh my
that.
God, I forgot about her.
Oh,
yeah, she was a pointless side character.
Don't worry about that either.
Don't worry about that either. The love interest that they never did anything with.
No.
So like it almost felt like he needed to go through like a couple trials before like like he tries to pull off his big revenge scheme that goes
he
sideways.
thought it was going to be so easy because he bought a gun and he was like training with the gun to make sure that he could like shoot.
But what I'm saying is from a story perspective, like if you're introducing people to a new character. Like, for instance, in John Wick, you know, we see John Wick basically like unearth his like weapons, and then like he like kind of like goes level by level, you know, killing people and getting back into the game. And I feel like if we were going to go full Batman, like basically this movie is a Batman movie, we would have liked to have seen him kind of like, you know, start small and, you know, kind of work his way up and eventually, you know, come back for a big victory at the end.
What this movie needed was the writers from Pacific Rim. And give us some nice setup and payoff.
I agree.
Christopher Nolan needed to look at this movie and be like, do it backwards.
Right.
That would have been some good arty shit. You know, start with the third act and
work your way backwards
to the massacre of his childhood.
Yeah,
that would have been weird.
No, I think if you're looking for an introduction to Indian cinema, go watch RRR. Yeah, this is not the one. In my opinion, if you tend to line up with what I think about movies and you're kind of on the same path as me, go watch RRR if you haven't already. I believe it's still on Netflix. It's a solid, amazing Indian film that really showcases the culture over there.
Be careful you don't say it too much, or we're going to get inundated with half the population.
It'll be Indian bots. We did. We reviewed RRR.
Watch this movie. Fuck you. I don't want to watch that movie.
I don't know if you know this or not, but RRR at the time, it was a couple of years ago now, but we reviewed that movie and that video got like the most views ever.
Like
we were so hyped. We were like, one of our reviews took off. And then we find out later there was just an Indian bot farm that just freaking flooded our YouTube channel.
I'm pretty sure I saw a post today telling y'all to actually review they
still pop in.
Yeah, it still pops in there every once in a while. But no, Lord Thoth says, so pointless side quests. Yes, there's a lot of pointless side quests.
There is. And pointless side characters that they don't finish up.
I did see a super chat that said that I should change my review score. I have changed it. I lowered it down to, I think, a 72.
That's still pretty high.
It's high, but I still had fun with this, even both times. And honestly, Alex, your commentary made it even better the second time.
I was talking way too much during this movie. I apologize.
It was great. No, and I get y'all's complaints. It's just, like I said, the trans stuff doesn't really bother me that much. It does feel like an intro to his filmmaking, and I think that there is definitely some talent there. And I think Dev, if he can just hone in on some of what he was doing here, maybe pull back on some of the artsy stuff a little bit.
You know, the real nefarious thing about this is that none of the trans stuff was in any of the
they tucked that away.
They purposely suppressed it from the movie because they knew that it would cause problems.
Especially with
all us bigoted redneck people out here.
And I'm guessing with an Indian audience as well. And that was one of the things that I was curious about is this a full-blown hot button issue?
Because as touchy of a subject as it is in the States, in India, it's way more. Right. So I can imagine, I don't know what the commentaries are from coming out of that country, but I'm sure there's plenty of people that are upset about it. But
that would be an interesting thing.
It is what it is, man. I don't know what to tell you. I did not enjoy this movie for several reasons. It wasn't just the trans thing. It was more of the pacing and a couple of issues that Kadish mentioned. I'm real low on this. I'm like, if I'm going to rate it on critic list, it's right there between like bogus and decent. It's like 49%. It's like halfway for me, which is like 2.5 stars, I guess would technically be that. So yeah, I'm kind of real down on this movie. I would not suggest going and seeing it. If it pops up on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, if you want to check it out over there.
This is a watch it on the couch, in your comfies, and enjoy it as you will.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, this is not. I was kind of bummed. There was a couple moments there I was like, yeah, I think I'm good to go get another snack. Right? It's like, I don't need to watch this part.
Go get yourself another sausage.
Yeah, go get myself another sausage.
There was a shot in this movie. I don't know if any of y'all caught it, where he's running on the rooftops, and that whole stretch of scene was cool. But there's a scene where he is jumping, and it looks like fucking Gumby.
Oh yeah, it's real fake.
I was like, oh my god, what is going on?
Some wonky CGI.
Yeah, it was like one of the only bits of CGI in the whole movie, and it was a little.
It's a low budget movie.
It is.
I try not to judge. Like if an indie movie's gonna do CGI, I'm like,
right,
it is what it is. Whatever.
No, yeah, and it was such a quick shot. Yeah, it's hard to catch, but it was really funny when I saw it the second time, especially. I really noticed it.
Yeah, I noticed it too.
That's something.
All right, so I'm floating around 2.5, probably closer to 2. I really didn't like this movie that much. I was very disappointed, especially with the trailers that I was watching. I was like, oh, this movie's gonna be amazing, and I was super disappointed. My expectations were up here, and I got something real low. Vader, what's your? Are you still percolating?
A little bit. I think I'm going to end up right around where you guys are. Probably 2.5 stars.
Okay.
I have no desire to ever watch this movie again.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I get there's some hype around this movie. Why was there hype?
Because the trailers were badass.
Because the trailers, because it was John Wick
and critics.
Trailers.
It did the circuit of the festivals, and the critics
festivals.
are really hyping this thing up.
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah,
also Jordan Peele.
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
I will say, as far as
he's if I see his name attached to something,
I usually
usually
like,
I was a big fan of Jordan Peele's movies up until Nope. I watched.
really?
I
Nope's his only
like,
movie I
what?
like.
Really?
Believe it or not,
that's so weird.
That's the only one I like.
Oh man.
I just want them to go make some more stupid name skits.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron. You know,
I said.
Because I do love. I do.
Key and Peele's great. Yeah.
Their sketch comedies.
And I like Jordan Peele's like horror style stuff is really good. I like some of that. Us. And there was one other one that happened. I can't remember the name of it. Them. Us and Them. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have a huge problem with them guys because they're not taking old shit and wokeifying them and making them.
Yeah, they're making original stuff.
They're making their own shit.
I'm all for it.
And if that's what they want to do, that's fine.
And as far as a directorial debut for this guy, I think he did a solid job at the action scenes. I want to see him do something more and maybe have somebody kind of clean up the writing a little bit to make sure everything's on point. Because, I mean, the movie it's when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's not bad. It's everything else that just kind of took me out of the movie is what ruined it for me. But I think if somebody else, maybe besides Jordan Peele, came in and produced his movie for him, and like kind of, straightened things out and made sure he had a proper setup and payoff act and all that stuff. And like, hey man, don't take the mask off. That's everybody wants to see the mask.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point of the movie.
Exactly. And I think like I said, I'm right there with you guys. I think there's just too much weird, like too many experimental type of. This is my first movie, so I'm gonna do all this weird shaky cam.
Everything.
There was some like Jodorowsky. What's that guy's name? From Jodorowsky-esque scenes in this, and I was like, where is this coming from? This is so weird.
Love.
I'm gonna rape it with love.
I really when he threw the new mask away,
so bummed.
That really kind of
was so bummed.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
The name is the movie's called The Monkey Man.
Yeah.
Right. Wear your mask.
Yeah.
When you're in your final act, you want to go in there and kill everybody. Take it off. You don't need to take it off until you're at the final boss.
Yeah.
Well, and you built up the persona.
And reveal that you're the son of the person that this guy killed.
Exactly.
Like, look who I really am. And then that's the God.
I mean, I was kind of laughing through the movie back then because when he's fighting the second to last guy, the guy who killed his mom, I'm sitting there, I'm just mumbling shit. And Blaine's laughing.
He was.
I'm finally like, and he's like, oh, finally you have gained some strength.
Yeah. You are now a worthy opponent.
Now you are a worthy opponent. Then I'm going, oh no, I'm your. At the end, I literally thought I did too.
I thought he was going to be.
That's what I was going to say.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
And I thought the love interest. Like I wasn't sure where the love interest was going.
Yeah.
And I thought for a minute that it was going to turn out to be his sister or something. Because they didn't really push that he was like in love with her or anything. He just had
like a soft spot for her.
He had a connection for her. He wanted to save her. He wanted to help her.
Yeah.
And she had the same thing for him. And I was like, ooh. And he knew what her tattoo meant.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, they're from the same tribe or something.
Oh, Jesus.
They were both like members of this when like they like burned the village down. Like he knew her as a child. Sister something. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry.
We have to kick Dennis Wright out of the club.
Why? What did he say?
FYI, Beam.
Oh, Beam.
It's from RRR. Salty's kept fucking up the name. It's not Beam.
It's Bahim.
It's Beam.
I kept saying, so there's a character in the movie called Beam.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was the way it was spelled in the subtitles or something. I think that had an H in it.
We all called it Bahim.
I thought it was Bahim. I was like, oh, it's Bahim. And then everybody from India was like, you fucking idiot. It's Beam. It's Beam, not Bahim.
I was trying to think of what that was.
I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that.
Gold star.
Yeah. Gold star for Dennis Wright.
I need to watch it.
He's been a member of our channel for a long time, Patreon and elsewhere. Thank you so much, Dennis. Appreciate the help. Okay, so Jude,
every other chat.
You're next up. So we're all. I mean, you're 2.5. I'm like a 2.5. Kadish is probably like you said 2 as well. 2, yeah. So I'm curious, Jude, what are you sitting at?
Well, what's crazy is that I enjoyed this movie so much more than you, but like my rating is right around the same place. You're just angrier about your 2 stars. So I gave it 50% on Critic List.
Okay.
It's about a 2.5 star for me. And like the whole first half of the movie, I was like, I don't really care that much, but whatever, the music's dope. And then everything from the temple on, I was like, fuck yeah, we're going to get an epic fight. And that last fight, amazing.
Sure.
That is where all of my points went for the movie.
Okay.
Is that whole last fight where he's like taking on all of the fucking little boss men to get up to the big boss men. And then, Blaine was talking about the other day when he has like the knife in his mouth and he fucking rips the guy's throat. It was amazing. It was amazing. That last fight, great.
Like redeemed the rest of the movie for you.
I think it was a lot of fun too. But that's the thing, like with the critical score scale, where it's decent. Like decent isn't a bad descriptor. Like it's not the worst thing ever. It's decent. Like you know, and that makes sense for me. Like I don't think it's, you know, which I still like it more than all of you guys do. But I mean, it's not a bad movie. It just has problems.
Yeah. If I hadn't gotten that final fight, everything that happened in the club, all of that, if I hadn't gotten any of that, I would have been really annoyed about all of the storylines that they like started and then dropped. I would have been pissed off about that at the end of the movie. But because I got something that left it on a high for me, I was like, fuck it, whatever, who cares? But like as soon as we left the movie, I was like, so why did we pick that?
Because the trailers were good. I mean, that's really all it is.
I had not seen any trailers. I had zero expectations.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's why I enjoyed it more than you.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was hyped for Indian John Wick. I was all for it. And after
it's actually more Bourne.
That's not what it is.
It's more Jason Bourne.
It's more Jason
and Batman. It's very hodgepodge together with several different
I saw my first Jason Bourne movie the other day.
Oh, we should talk about that.
Let's talk about that in the
for the second half. Anyway, all right, that's it for Monkey Man. Leave your comments in the chat. Let us know if you've seen it, or based off of what we just said, are you going to see it or are you not? Let us know. I'm really curious. Hey, folks, if you like this video, be sure to watch this one next. And if you want to see the full episode of this podcast, click right here.